Hello guys, Crispy here, welcome back to another video. With this one, my friends, I'm going to be testing a GeForce RTX 2066 GB model in Stutter 2 Heart of Chernobyl. This one is the Palit version of the card. We are running it with the latest Nvidia drivers, and I'm not manually overclocking it. You can see all of its specs right here in Tech Power-Up's GPU-Z, and over on the left, I'm pairing it with a Ryzen 9 7950X3D CPU with half of its cores disabled, which is basically the same as the Ryzen 7 7800X3D, which is extremely overkill for an RTX 2060, but this is a GPU benchmark, so we don't want to bottleneck the card, and this game uses a lot of CPU. Over on the memory tab, I'm using 32 GB of DDR5 6000 megatransfer per second RAM, and let's get right into it, shall we? Alright, let's go over the settings first. I am starting at 1080p resolution, and something tells me that we shouldn't go over 1080p resolution, but I'll try anyways. And we're using the medium settings preset at the moment with 69% sharpness, because 69 is the best, of course. And DLAA right here on the upscaling. This is still at 100% resolution scale, of course, but it's using the anti-aliasing from the DLSS, and it's 1 FPS more intensive than if you just turned off all of the anti-aliasings, basically, so it doesn't really matter, and everything else set to the medium, including textures, by the way. And this worries me a little bit, because with 8GB GPUs, I've already seen medium textures utilizing more than like 7GB, so yeah, but let's see how it does. Okay, so, oh boy, okay, alright. Well, hopefully that was just because we started and not because of the VRAM. It just doesn't stop stuttering, holy crap. Obviously, yeah, it is starting to swap things into the RAM, by the way. You can see that the VRAM allocation is maxed out, basically. It doesn't need to say 6GB there, or 6144 megabytes. Now, yeah, see this? See this? This means that the VRAM is completely filled up at the moment, so we can't really utilize those medium textures. These guys, look at them walk. Oh my, look at that one over there. This is so interesting. Okay. Yeah, so after a while, when you reach the limits of the VRAM and it starts swapping a lot of things into the RAM, you're gonna get 7 FPS, 8 FPS. It's exactly the same thing as we saw with the GTX 1650 on 1080p lowest settings, because that's a 4GB GPU, and whenever you run out of VRAM in this game, you start getting single-digit FPS, apparently. But I'm keeping it on medium settings preset with low texture quality this time. This should fix these super annoying issues. I'm just gonna restart the game completely. That's so it compiles the shaders again. I don't know if textures will affect anything with the shader compilation. Probably not, but hey, now you know. I did restart everything, okay? And we're back here, guys. Now with the low textures, we're still having big stutters, but hopefully it's not gonna go down to 6 FPS or 7 FPS anymore. The frame rate is still the same, you know, 30s, low 40s sometimes. It touches 40 FPS, doesn't even go over 40. But yeah, it's a playable experience. In terms of graphical fidelity, medium settings looks very similar to high settings, which look very similar to epic settings. But the medium settings have a major pop-in issue, as you can see, like the shadows are terrible. The other settings also have major pop-in issues, by the way. Okay, but it's much less noticeable when it comes to the shadows on high and epic. But in terms of like trees popping in at the distance, like that, for example, that one in the middle of the screen, that will happen even on epic settings. It is really broken, okay, when it comes to the LODs and stuff like that. You will see a ton of stuff just popping into the image as you walk in this game, as you explore the wasteland. So keep that in mind. It's never going to be perfect in that regard. Alright, I just dropped a bunch of weapons there. It's starting to stutter again. Ugh. But okay, over here the VRAM allocation is going down, as is the usage, I guess, and the RAM usage, though, is pretty high. So that means that it already swapped a bunch of things that should be on VRAM into the RAM. And also out here in the wasteland, basically, whenever you are not in that settlement area or other bigger settlements that you come across in the game, of course, that's the first one that you'll come across, but I bet there are more. Yeah, you can get 40s, 45, mid-40s sometimes. And this is great because it's a little bit smoother 130s for sure, and you can shoot people better with 40 frames per second, obviously. Look at this. For some reason, he didn't see me. This one did. Even though I was here, he saw me probably through these holes over here. Oh, yes. Very, very nice soldier that they have there in Bob's team. Another thing that I don't like about this game is that you can't really vault. Not vault, like, you can vault over here, for example. See that? But you can't grab a ledge like in Dying Light and even Far Cry 3. Anyway, you get the idea, right? It's actually okay of an experience considering the UE5 engine, considering that the game is terribly optimized and it struggles to run smoothly even on a 4090. It should run a heck of a lot better on this GPU, because like Metro Exodus, for example, ran... I see a lot of people comparing Metro Exodus to this one because of the similarity in like the setting and so on. And yeah, that game does look really good and runs way, way better than this because it's UE5 and because the developers didn't care about optimization whatsoever. But anyway, the 2060 is not giving an amazing experience for sure, right? It's like 40-ish FPS average down to the 30s at times, but at least it is doable. If you really want to play this game and all you have is a 2060 with something like a Ryzen 5 5600X, you're gonna get around these FPS, okay? And it should be an okay experience, not amazing, but just okay. What can we do to improve things? Obviously, you could use low settings, but low settings will look way worse than medium settings do. I don't really recommend it a lot. Let's start by using quality DLSS. I'll leave frame generation for later, okay? And with quality DLSS, it renders the game at a lower resolution. Quality being 66 or 67% resolution scale of 1080p means this is upscaling from 720p resolution. Does it look like 720p? No. Far from it, okay, this is way better looking than 720p resolution. That's because DLSS is doing a decent job of upscaling it, but that doesn't mean that you can't see differences compared to native resolution. For example, the trees at the distance have a lot more noise. They were already noisy at native res, but they have a lot more noise now. There's more shimmering on power lines and stuff like that, and overall in the vegetation as well. But if you have a smaller monitor, say like a 22-inch or even a 24-inch monitor, I don't think quality DLSS will look too bad, honestly. And it actually is giving us way higher FPS to the point where it actually feels smooth right now. Oh boy. Okay, I need to eat actually. I'm hungry. Let's eat some sausages here. There we go. Stutters are still the same, you know. It's still having those spikes here and there. Look at that. Yeah, that was a bad one, actually. Oh, boy. Okay, I see what's going on. We're starting to arrive at this area once again, and it's starting to drop to the same values as it did before. You know, when we first arrived at this entrance... Or was it another entrance? I don't remember. We also saw the FPS dropping to the 20s, but then it smooths out and we're getting 30s again. It's still super underwhelming, though, because quality DLSS sometimes does a bigger difference, and of course, outside of settlement areas, it did make a bigger difference. But yeah, here... Oh my god. No way. No. Don't do this to me, game. Alright, that stuttering is gone. The same thing happened with the RTX 4060 Ti, by the way, with medium textures at 1080p and frame generation. So I'm not sure. Maybe this is just one-offs going on here. It's not going to happen every single time, as you can see. Maybe it's because we've been to another area of the map. We loaded the VRAMs, the textures there and so on. Oh my god, bro, no. And then we come here and it requires more VRAM and we don't have it and we already have other textures loaded and this happens. It might be that, or it might be just the game being completely broken, or it might be the medium settings overall also not being good enough for 6GB GPUs. Maybe you need to play on low settings everything. I don't know, I'm just showing you my results, showing you my experience playing the game, and yeah, I don't know what's happening, guys. Maybe you need to restart after selecting quality DLSS. You usually don't, but you know, this game's so broken that you might need to. Alright, we're back here, guys, with DLSS quality. Same settings, alright? I just restarted the game because, well, it started playing at single digits, right? And, yeah, as you can see, it's not in the 30s as often. It gets like 40s, 50s. And I just remembered that this game also has a memory leak issue. And that's probably what happened there, okay? So you gotta restart every now and again. Oh my god, no way. No way. It's already at 8 FPS again. As soon as we got out of this area, you got RT posing as well. As soon as we just stepped outside of this area, I think it was probably forgetting this area and loading this new one. What is going on, bro? Right. So if you keep on going and walking, I guess eventually it's gonna get 30 FPS again or 40s. Please? Eventually? No? This is absolutely ridiculous. It was playing well at 1080p native resolution. Quality DLSS runs a lower resolution internally and it consumes less VRAM. Why is this happening? This game has more problems than we know. No, the 6 gigs, absolutely terrible with the medium settings and low textures. So what I'm gonna do next is enable frame generation just to see if we can actually see some FPS with frame generation, some decent FPS. Yes, we can, 100. But the thing is, frame generation, this is FSR frame generation first of all, so it has more input lag than Nvidia's frame generation, but that's not in RTX 20 series GPUs, only in the 40 series, of course. This works. It's getting 100 FPS, as you can see. It feels alright. Input lag is pretty bad, though, so I'm not sure if I would do this, but it also smooths the frame time graph by quite a bit. I'm going to enable Reflex right here, Nvidia Reflex, which should lower input lag by a little bit. There we go. So I bet some people will tell me that their game is working absolutely fine with the RTX 2060. I think I've seen a couple of comments already saying that they were running at 100 FPS just fine. No stuttering issues, no nothing. I mean, it's probably going to have stuttering issues whenever you go into a settlement area once again. But yeah, if you are using frame generation, 100 FPS is possible. The input lag, however, is going to be very off-putting to a lot of people. It's not as bad to me as it is to some other people. I've seen a lot of people in the comments complaining about the game being completely unplayable with frame generation enabled. I think with around 100 FPS, it is still passable. Obviously, you can't really build any muscle memory. It feels bad for that. You can't really flick shot and so on. You gotta take your time aiming your shots, aiming at the enemies and so on. But it's dealable with. But that's for me, that's my opinion, and the input lag perceivedness is going to differ from people to people. So there's that, guys. Do I attempt to go to the other city area, by the way, with frame generation enabled? Do I? Maybe, yeah, let's do it. It's right there, after all, at the end of this road. So we're approaching the area, guys. It's starting to have those bigger spikes in the frame time graph sometimes. I've seen a couple of them already as we're approaching this. And this is it. Big spike there. Dropping into the 60s now, 50s even. And this is with frame generation enabled, so input lag will be pretty similar to half the frame rate, basically. Alright. So right now, input lag feels like 30 FPS input lag. It's not really like that. It's like if you had 30 FPS with VSync, I guess. If you were to fight these bastards around here, you know, make a scene, kill Bob, which is always very important. Goodbye, Bob! There we go. Yeah, it starts dropping some FPS as well, because people now are shooting at you, I guess. Look at that, 40. And you can't really shoot at them back. I mean, it's going to be extremely, extremely hard to aim with this amount of input lag. So with that said, let's set it to the low settings, okay? This is minimum settings. I'll leave the light shafts enabled. This doesn't kill your performance, doesn't impact performance at all, actually. And we're back to DLEA, no frame generation, okay? Still at 1080p resolution. And It looked like a game from 2005 for a second. I will restart everything once again. Go back to the desktop. Move into the game again. Okay, back here after the restart. 1080p resolution. Lowest settings. DLEA. And let's check it out. Okay, I'm also disabling Nvidia Reflex, by the way, because that lowers GPU usage by a little bit. And now we're getting 40s. Alright, low 40s is kind of the minimum, right? Not bad. Now it shouldn't have any of those issues with the slowdowns and so on, because with the GTX 1060, it also didn't happen. Okay, still seeing a bit of stuttering happening here and there, though. The VRAM allocation is up there. 5.9 gigs. Oh boy. Will it be kind of the same? I hope it doesn't happen again. Like, it's ridiculous if it happens. Oh my goodness. Let's see. You know, let's go over here. Big stutter dropping down our 1% lows to 7. But it's not happening anymore. Like, as soon as we get out of there, we're up into the 50s. All right, let's go back there again and check it out. Hopefully it won't get single-digit FPS when we are getting inside of the town again. All right, still dropping into the 20s. As you can see, that's always going to happen because it's... I guess the developers really like to drop into the 20s whenever going into settlement areas like this. But... yeah, 40s. It's going to be a lot more stable. Not stable. I'm not saying this is stable because it still stutters a heck of a lot. But it is not going to drop into single digits FPS and like 10 FPS or something like that. It's not going to happen anymore. At least it didn't happen with the GTX 1066GB. Obviously, the game on low settings looks way worse than it did on medium settings. You can tell a major difference in the graphics quality, right? So I don't know if I would use this, guys. Honestly, again, I would just not buy the game in its current state if you have an RTX 2060. I don't think it's worth it, all right? You're going to be playing at lowest settings to have the more consistent experience, and even then the 1% lows are terrible, especially when going into the settlements and so on. Just wait a bit for patches, maybe even a couple of months, and see where the game is in terms of optimization by then. Anyway, I'm going to stop it there. Let's go to DLSS quality now and check it out like this. 60s, 50s... Very similar to what we saw at medium settings, once again. There are guys over there. I wonder if they run away from the grenade or something. I don't know if they do. One of them didn't move, but okay. Oh my gosh, what the hell? Oh, that's terrible. What is that? Why is it flickering so much? Oh, there are... Okay, let's throw this out there. There are some anomalies there. I didn't do anything, okay. I got 22 grenades, what the heck? I have been collecting grenades in this game, and I didn't even notice it. Alright, approaching the settlement again, down into like the high 30s, low 40s. It's not gonna be 60 FPS all of the time, obviously. Okay. Okay. Oh, what the heck is going on? What is happening? Oh! It's a thunderstorm. Hello, why are you shooting right now? What if I kill Bob with a grenade now? Wait. Will they come after me? Will they know? That's not who I wanted to kill. Wait. Let's go. Come on, Bob. Just die. Just die already. We can't kill Bob with a grenade, dude. This is ridiculous. This is... What is that? What are you doing? Oh, there we go. We killed Bob with the grenade. Finally. Good stuff. Do they know? Yes, they do. Anyway, you're not safe from those huge FPS drops, as you saw there. It still dipped down a little bit. I guess maybe it was loading the thunderstorm that was approaching or something. It is what it is, my friends. Let's try it with the frame generation enabled. I'm also going to enable this reflex, so input lag is a little bit more bearable. Oh my gosh. Okay, so yeah, it still drops to around the same values as we saw previously on medium. Around here, 60s, 70s, sometimes even 50s. I guess, because it was getting 50s, right? Now it's 100. Like, what the heck? Okay, I don't understand. This game is so inconsistent. Maybe it was just loading because we started it recently. Oh no! What the hell, dude? Stop! Don't play this game. It's in a terrible state on 6GB GPUs, okay? And lastly, guys, I want to try 1440p as well. Lowest settings, but I'm not going to try it at native res. I'm going to try balanced DLSS, because, you know, native would just run out of VRAM and get us 5 FPS, so what's the point, right? And we're getting 30s and 40s. It's kind of the same as 1080p native resolution. Interesting. See, even if you have a 1440p display, you can still play these extremely terribly optimized games that are super intensive at 1440p with a 2060. Again, I think after like 10 minutes, the memory leak will come into play and wreck everything, and you gotta restart the game then. But yeah, just wanted to showcase a little bit of 1440p over here. VRAM usage seems to be lower, actually, than even at native 1080p resolution, and even with quality DLSS at 1080p, this VRAM is actually lower, 5 gigs. What the heck, right? So it's under control like this. It's sharper. Also, maybe lower the sharpness level a little bit. I'm just using 69 because it's very nice, but it doesn't look the best, you know? Like 30-40% I think is the sweet spot for the sharpness in this game. But yeah, you can definitely play like this. Again, not gonna recommend it, because it still has a heck of a lot of problems, but you can. The reflex is enabled and is causing the little GPU usage fluctuations, not CPU bottleneck. Okay, I just noticed it. I forgot to disable it here. But yeah, now that reflex is disabled, we got 98-99% GPU utilization, and kind of the same FPS. Doesn't matter too much. But yeah, you gotta have a very strong CPU for this. And especially if you want to play without frame generation, which you might want to, since FG just starts wrecking things a little bit sooner than without FG, because it uses more VRAM. Also, the input lag now is a little bit worse than it was before, because it's in the 90s and 80s at times. But the frame generation will definitely ease that CPU bottleneck. You know, what the heck, dude? Is this an Easter egg or something? Probably is. So yeah, it will reduce the CPU bottleneck if you have a very big CPU bottleneck and you're dropping into like the 20s or teens in that town area. Oh my god, wait a second. For some reason, we had 90 FPS there, but when I turned the camera around, it had a ton of input lag, but now it's back to normal input lag levels with FG. That was weird. Alright. But yeah, imagine your CPU is only capable of 20 FPS. You enable FG, then you're gonna get like 40 FPS, and it's gonna feel a lot smoother there in the town area. And 20 FPS is a bit nauseating, so could be a better experience then. You gotta play around with FG and check what works for you. I wouldn't with this system here, and I wouldn't if you have any X3D CPU. And if you have like 40 plus FPS all of the time, I wouldn't enable FG with a 2060. But that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope it was helpful in any way. Let me know if you've been playing this game with the 2060. Let me know if you're thinking of buying it now that we've seen this. And let me know if you are also having those very extreme drops all of a sudden with your system, because I'd like to know that. Maybe you gotta restart every time you apply quality DLSS, right? It's ridiculous. You never need to do that in other games, but maybe this one is different. So there's that. Let me know. I'll catch you in the next one very soon. As always, love you all. Bye-bye.